What's going on, football fans? It's me, J.R. Clark, back again with another Pound for Pound ATL. Joined as always by my main man, Jonathan Holder, who is dealing with a cat. What is going on, Jonathan?
Doing well, and yeah, uh, cat just won't leave me alone.
Nah, it's all good. Hey, man, it's going to become the unofficial official mascot for too much longer.
I know.
Well, we are back live, hot off of our other live on Friday,
Yep.
where we're down at Mercedes Benz, checking out the Falcons live with our own eyes, and I guess that's going to be pretty much uh, I guess you could say the focus of what we're going to be talking about mostly today. But how you doing, brother? You doing all right? Good day so far.
Yeah. It's been a good day. Excited. We just had a signing today. Had a signing over the weekend that everybody's like, "Do we have enough?"
Oh yeah, oh yeah, the cornerback,
Yeah. Yeah.
Moran Boards or whatever his name was.
Yeah, the Cardinals guy. But yeah, that and yeah, just been looking forward to some chatting it up with the community and let's see what we got going on. Just a reminder, if you
Hmm.
haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit like, give us a thumbs up so you get that algorithm going.
That's right, all that good stuff. Well, I guess without
Absolutely.
much further ado, we might as well just go on and get into it. So, like I said, like you were talking about, and we were, like I said, we were down there at the Benz on Friday checking out the team, and now that we're a little bit more like removed from it, is there anything that kind of stood out to you that when you sat down and thought back on it was like, oh man, I wish I'd have said that, or I would have. I'm glad we saw this in action.
I just, I feel like we did a good job of voicing the things that were important to each of us,
Mhm.
the things that each of us noticed, um, and you know, I just I was so happy. I was so happy that I saw you pop. It popped up on Twitter where you were like, "Hey, I got my ticket," and I was like, "Oh yeah,
That's
awesome!"
right.
And then everything worked out with scheduling for work. Like I had the day off. Everything just kind of happened. So I was just happy to be there, to be able to hang out, watch our Falcons practice, hang out with you. I don't get a chance to like really hang out with you all that much. So being able to just hang out and absorb all the essence of Atlanta Falcons football was awesome.
Yeah, it was really good. It was good to kind of get it, like, put a like bow on the draft season
Yep.
and really get fully transitioned into what is going to be the 2023 season.
Yep.
Like that was a more like really being back in the bins, seeing the team practice. It was almost like, okay, a turning of the page in the off season calendar. It was really good to see, um, to see your number one draft pick in action, like seeing
Yep.
him on the field, seeing that he does move different. I was trying to quantify that on a space earlier today. Seeing him, like, yes, we watched the film, we watched game tape and things like that, but seeing him live and in person, moving around, you could tell by looking at him, it was a different look. It was a different feel as far as uh, running back went. He almost at times looked like he was glitching in like just how sudden his movements were, even on simple things such as just, okay, on this play I'm just going out as a check down or as a check release valve kind of deal, not really part of the play. But even in those movements you could see, man, he just moves differently, and that was
Yeah.
That was nice to see in person.
Yeah, it's one thing to watch highlight videos. It's one thing to do that, but when you see him in person, like even when he was running full out, it doesn't ever look like he is. He doesn't seem to struggle. Not to say that he didn't make mistakes. We commented on
Yeah,
that. He made some
right.
mistakes, but like when he in the physical aspect of it, it just everything seems natural. It
Very.
just flows. And some people will say, oh, you're first round pick, you're hyperbolic, but it's like you don't like Algier. I think is a great running back. I think he's going to be really good for us. But you can see the difference when he runs, like the cuts, the jumps, like everything that he does. He does a lot of the same things as far as the jumps, but they're not as quick. They're not as smooth. They're not as effortless looking. It looks like he's trying to do it, which is not. There's a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of running backs out there that look exactly the same way.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that he's not going to be any good. It's just when he does it, you can see like he's trying to do it. It almost feels
Hmm.
like the way that Bijan moves is almost like he intended it to be that way, and it just his body followed.
That's it.
Uh,
Yeah,
weird way to say
natural
it.
seems to be a very that seems to fit. Um, and I agree with, like, Fred Butt says, Ritter looks ready. That was something else that I noticed. Like, he looked like, when you had, yes, you had four quarterbacks out there. You had uh, Ritter, Heineke, Woodside, and Ayun,
Yeah.
and like, without actually seeing who threw it, you could tell that Ritter was the one throwing the ball. Like,
Yes.
just by the flight of the ball. Like,
Yeah.
it looked like a NFL thrown ball. Like, the only best way I can describe that is um if you've watched USFL or XFL any, and seen the difference in how those quarterbacks throw versus how, a true, like, NFL quarterback throws. And
Yeah.
Ridler's much closer to that NFL quarterback sliding scale than he is the USFL sliding scale, and that was evident.
Yeah. Like I remember, like vaguely, like going to training camp Ryan's rookie year.
Mhm.
I remember going to that. And the thing that I remember coming away from that, now he wasn't named the starter at this point. This was he. I don't think he was named the starter until like into preseason.
Yeah, I
Well,
thought it was in the preseason, but I definitely don't remember that one. Like, as far as I
but
wasn't paying attention like I do now.
yeah, and so Brian Friedman here says you just can't read anything into OTAs as far as Ritter being ready. You now I can say he passes the eye test.
Right.
Okay, like when you see him in the movements, the just like when he delivers the ball, like how that delivery happens, um, the just everything like his body movements when he's doing the drills, all those things, like he looks the part with that. Okay. And then, but when you sat and did those same drills, like specifically the one I remember, the very first thing we saw of him was that drill where he goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then he turns, net, throw.
Throws. Yep.
Um, when you watch him run that, and then you watch him and Heineke were probably the best at that. And then when you saw Woodside and Ayun running that same drill, like there, it's just there's a difference.
Yeah, there's a different
Uh,
feel. There's a different
yeah,
pace to it. Um, and you're right. Like, I can't I can't read anything into it per se, and I get what you're saying, and you will hear me throughout this. Like, people will get on me. They've already been getting on me. Like, I'm not anointing Ritter anything past the
no,
2023 starter until I
yeah,
see it, but I will comment, like, on what I see, and out of the quarterbacks that are there, that are lining up and suiting up for the Falcons this year, it's clear that Ritter is the better of the four. You know, like if something happens and he goes down, Heineke can give you a handful of you know starts or whatever, but Ritter is, even at this junction, to me, what his athleticism and stuff like that, um, you know, presents a clearer head and shoulders above what like Heineke is.
Yeah.
What Heineke is at this junction. If Heineke was more than what he was, Washington wouldn't let him walk away. Like Heineke's a career backup, and that's fine. Um, but that's like what I'm reading into is that uh, it's obvious Ritter's a lot more confident because even AJ Terrell spoke about that. I was going to pull the clip, but I figured we might get dinged if I actually played it on air. But some of the comments that were made from AJ Terrell was like that like his voice is louder this year. You can definitely tell that there's more confidence. They're
Yeah.
giving him, you know, their best in practice to try to make him better. So, the team around him is saying all the things that they need to say. So you can shuck that stuff off as saying, well, are they going to say that it's crap? You know, but if it was truly crap, you would hear rumblings, just like you do in Arizona. Currently
Yep.
right now with you know Kyler Murray.
Yep.
So I don't read more into it than that per se, but I did enjoy seeing like uh, some of these guys that we hadn't seen in person yet, like a Mac Hollins. It was good seeing him move around on the field, able to get some separation. I think his hair alone wins him the number 2 spot. If nothing else, he's going to have the best hair on the team
Yeah, he is.
because that dude, man.
Yeah,
Um,
no, real quick, because I know he was saying something, but I will absolutely agree with this. Like, if Ritter is good, Brian, like if he's good, yes, we're going to be unstoppable. If he's a good rookie, like he's good, he has a good rookie season where he's not like the next Patrick Mahomes day one, but he comes in and he you know limits his mistakes as much as he can. He's going to make them. Takes care of the ball as much as he possibly can. He's going to have some turnovers, but if he can do those things and don't be the reason why we lose, don't do that as much as possible, then I think we're going to be okay as a team as a whole.
yep. Fred Butts, we appreciate that greatly. He says, I keep
Thank you,
saying it.
Fred.
Ritter will be a superstar. I'll put you like this, Fred, because Fred's one of the guys who, like, I love, Fred's, like, never ending optimism. But one of the things I'll say right now, if I am talking just pure talent wise, not the weirdness of him not being able to perform in prime time or anything like that, but if Ritter gives you a Kirk Cousins floor with the way we are building this team, like he's going to be the guy for the next 10 years.
Yep.
Like I could easily see him being, that being his floor. Like if he can give us that, I think we're in good shape. And Willie says, just be better than Mariota. Well, I think we, in a lot of ways, in his 4 starts, has already shown that he is. Like in a lot of different, metrics, if you extrapolate out what Ritter did in his 4 games, if you take that same pace and put it on a 17 game pace, he's shown to be better than what Mariota did. If you take Mariota's 11 game or 13 games and push them out to 17, Ritter comes out on top in both situations. Low,
What
what's
up,
going
Big
on?
Low?
What's going on? What in the world with you, Bo? Um, let's see. Brian says, "From your mouth to God's ears, friend." That's what we can hope for. I say it quite a bit. I'm not 100% sure God cares much about football, but I could be wrong on that.
Man,
Uh,
he is a Falcons fan day one.
uh, I can make some correlations there. That
He's just putting us through the trials and tribulations
all of
until the day of rapture when the Super
uh,
Bowl trophy is handed to Arthur Blank or whoever's the owner if it happens to be when Blank has gone to
who
heaven.
knows?
But who knows? Yeah, you know.
Hey, you never know. You never know. But all right, let's see. Yep. Okay. Well, back to that. So that kind of puts a bow on the OTAs. I think we got mandatory OTAs coming up, or mandatory is at the end of this week. That's coming up.
I think so.
Uh,
Yeah.
so we may have some fun things to talk about as far as that goes, depending on what information comes out. So that kind of puts on bow on Friday's OTAs. So now let's move on to like what I'm considering like the topic at hand at this junction, and that's the year two expectations.
Yep.
And because as I was thinking about it today, this team is going to be relying pretty heavily on a lot of second year guys. And some of those second year guys being like full on starters. Because I was in a space earlier and we were talking about one of my main concerns at this junction is still the like linebacker core and the wide receiver core, right? So the linebacker core obviously is head up by Caden Ellis, who has familiarity with Ryan Nielsen from his time in New Orleans, and then he has uh, presumably right now Troy Anderson is going to be the other starter. We didn't see Michael Walker, as it was uh, pointed out on Twitter. Uh, we didn't see Michael Walker on Friday, so it's hard to say how he got mixed in. But when you're going to be counting on Troy Anderson, who took Michael Walker's job by the end of the season,
Mhm.
so that's something to consider there. Like, what kind of like real expectation do you have of Troy Anderson coming into his second year?
I mean, I expect him. I expect him to take next step, right? I mean, I don't expect him to be a superstar day one.
Mhm.
He may end up being that, but I think he's. I'll say Andrew here. I would like to see him. If not produce 100, get very close to that. I'm not asking him to necessarily lead the league in tackles or anything like that. My hope is that the defense is good enough that he doesn't get as many opportunities to get tackles because we're forcing a lot of 3-and-outs.
Right,
I don't think that's necessarily going to happen, but that would be the thing I would say. But at the same time, I just want to see just like the thing I have personally preached with this team since Arthur Smith became the head coach. I want to see improvement. I want to see progression. I want to see Troy Anderson started last year as a backup reserve guy. He ended up the year as a starter. He comes into this year as the presumed starter, and assuming that he makes it to day one, then I want to see a guy that looks more comfortable in his in the on the field. I want to see a guy who is more comfortable with the calls that are being made, a guy who is less apt to um, get lost in the mesh, so to speak, like not sure of where he's supposed to be,
right.
and kind of looking lost sometimes. He's going to get beat. That happens to everybody, but try to be there to make a play when it's available to you. That's what I want to see. I want to see progression from a second year player to make that jump to be a guy who is a legit starter. While he may not be the best in the league, like don't be a complete liability while you're out there. Like
Yeah, because the
that's what I want to see.
what we were talking about earlier this morning was, um, when I say we right now, I'm like referencing the chat that I was having on Twitter was in this scheme, in this role, who are you counting on for like the Demario Davis coverage role? Like a lot of
Mhm.
times you had, at least if any of y'all spend any time watching New Orleans defense since we've hired Nielsen, I would say if you decided to do that, pop an acid, beforehand, so maybe you can stomach
Only way you can
watching.
make it through.
Right. But anyway, so trying to watch what they're doing and then superimpose it on what it's going to look like here.
Mhm.
Did the same thing when we hired Smith as far as Tennessee went. So, Demario Davis spent the majority of his like responsibilities were dropping into coverage, taking, tight ends and running backs and covering the middle of the field, whether it was an inverted Tampa 2 look or, what have you. And if they were running, two linebackers, a lot of times the other linebacker was, Fred Warner. And then
Mhm.
if they were running three, that's when you got Caden Ellis, right? Except towards the end of the season where Warner was out. Uh, I think I said Fred Warner. I think that's the guy out in San Francisco.
That's San Francisco. Yeah.
It is Warner or Werner. His name is Werner.
Yeah, Warner.
So anyway, uh so with that being said, like who is going to like replicate the Demario Davis role?
I mean,
Which,
I think that is Troy Anderson.
well, if you're going by what we saw down there on Friday, right? Like Caden was playing that mic. Now, that could be simply just because his uh everybody appreciate y'all Pete Warner.
There you
Uh
go.
I was mixing it up. Uh anyway, so so Demario Davis doing a lot of the covering. We initially thought that was going to be Troy Anderson with his athleticism and all that other jazz. His reported like intelligence is picking up schemes and all that other stuff. But when we were down there on Friday, you had in the the mic position, you had more of Caden Ellis in that position, which was interesting. That a friend of ours from up north was the one that pointed that out to me, and I went back and watched. I was like, yeah, you're not wrong there. So is it a deal where you think like do we think that by the start of the season, um, Troy Anderson makes that transition, or are they you feel like they're going to like to rely on Caden Ellis because that would be interesting. The guy who produced 7 sacks played better on the line of scrimmage. Now, are you going to be like putting him into coverage more?
So OTAs are is not like at least especially the kind that we saw, right? The kind we saw, they're not doing installs. They're doing drills. They break them out into different positions. They're doing those kinds of things. They're also doing a lot of like cross training with guys doing different roles. Maybe they're not, just so they get some sort of a taste of those things.
Trying to
Um,
see what guys look like doing certain things.
right. But also, like, there may be times where Caden Ellis is uh, plays much more of a middle type backer, at times in the season, and they want to
Mhm.
make sure that he's okay to do that.
Um,
But I
to
think
answer Brian's question, no, I don't. In OTAs, they're not wearing green dots. When I
no,
when I'm referencing Mike, I'm talking about like more or less just the middle linebacker. And
yeah.
before I've watched some uh different coach films and things like that this past off season, and as the game has modernized, like the mic isn't necessarily as big of a deal anymore than like what it was back in the day, like identifying the mic, depending on what play you're running, who you're actually identifying, uh, one way or the other, who you're reading, who you're keying on, like who you're running your protections up to. So let's get this in right here. It says, appreciate that, Andrew. Gotta write that Naruto every now and again.
Appreciate it, Andrew.
I gotta let my nerddom fly from
Your
time to time.
weeaboo,
Yeah, that's right.
get your weeaboo out.
We're graced by the presence of Mad Mike Sports. He says long shot, but one to watch for Jalen Hawkins, playing linebacker in dime packages. I think you're onto something in the sense of like something that Terry Fontenot like said from the pulpit way back at the combine is like he brought up called out big nickel, and in a big nickel situation, your third safety could be playing more of a linebacker role.
Yep.
So, uh, yes, that is something that could be looked out for. A role that Jalen Hawkins himself may play. He does well going at the closer to the line of scrimmage. So let's see. Who do I? Okay, Brian.
Wait,
Go ahead.
like who will wear the green dot? I think so. I think the plan. I can't say for sure. I don't know what the coaches are thinking. I think they want Troy Anderson to wear it. I think they want him to be the mic. But Caden Ellis may be at least initially wearing the green dot because he is more familiar with
with
whatever
with Nielsen.
Nielsen with whatever Nielsen's going to be doing. So he may start out with the green dot, and then they may, as the season progresses, um, Troy Anderson to wear the green dot.
Right.
But I think if they had their druthers like from day one, I think they would like to see Troy Anderson do it because I think, as the starter, quote unquote, I think he is going to be your middle linebacker, and
Right.
Caden will be the Sam or Will.
Uh, I need to clarify here, as my lovely wife is the one who she's the one who watches like the vast majority of like Naruto and all that other jazz. So I wear this kind of stuff in support of her. As far as now, I will say this before we get off on too much of a tangent. Um, like I personally really like My Hero Academia and Demon Slayer. Like we just got caught up on. Now, I'll also made a statement whether this docks points off me or not. I have a standing rule of I'm not reading a television show. So until it's English dubbed, I'm not watching it. So I got
Well,
caught up. Go ahead.
like in our house, we generally put subtitles on everything
Uh,
nowadays. Uh, to the point where like my wife made the comment the other day, she was like the only movie right now that she can watch, even if it's a movie she's watched a thousand times before, but the only movie she's watched that she can watch nowadays without subtitles and still know exactly what's being said every single moment of the movie is Goodfellas because that's her favorite movie. Anything else is like if she doesn't have subtitles on, it's almost
you
like
don't know what's going on.
what? So subtitles all the way. It doesn't bother me. I think the first time I ever saw something in subtitles was Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon in theaters,
Oh,
subtitled. So that was awesome.
now like look, if I'm going to watch a show, I want to watch it. I don't want to have to read it. So, like I said, we just got caught up on the what has been dubbed on the Sword Village arc in Demon Slayer, which I'm really happy to get back into that because you want to talk about some like amazing animation.
Nice.
Demon Slayer has got some
One
killer
one thing,
animation.
yeah, one thing I watched like a couple of episodes of it, and I want to watch more. I'm not a huge anime person, but I want to watch some more of like One Piece.
Oh yeah, good
Uh,
luck with that. There's the like, good lord, like there's
yeah.
a there's a concept, and I know you like have like said it to me, or me and you have talked about this before. You said it like, oh man, just give it the first season. I ain't giving nothing the first season. If you take more than a season to hook me, you've lost me. Okay. And with One Piece, to my understanding, there is like thousands of episodes of
Yeah,
One Piece. And to this comment, look, sometimes when it's the off season, what do you want from me?
yeah. Hey,
Tangents are fun.
hey, I I have fun talking about all kinds of topics, so
That's
we
right.
can tangent on whatever we need to.
Andrew says One Piece is amazing, but my God, it's stupidly long. Exactly. It's
I actually liked it because it's so long that its original starting place is I was watching the first couple episodes and it was making me nostalgic because of like some of the first anime stuff I remember watching like on a Saturday sometime, you just happened to catch it. It wasn't anything like there wasn't a channel just dedicated to
Right.
it. You would just happen to catch it on some Saturday somewhere, and but it reminded me of like that style of
Oh
animation
yeah,
from
that
like
that
back in the
old. Yep.
'80s.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Well, Jay says it's worth it. He says getting into that One Piece train is worth it.
and it's
So
definitely that right style of like over the top, crazy action, and but just goofy anime BS, man. Just
yep.
super goofy stuff.
Well, back to somewhat a topic on hand, but you're right. It was a complete and utter tangent. But hey, those are fun from time to time. And but you see, you always got to like, especially with me, you got to watch like what shirt I got on or what hat I got on because you never know. I'll throw some crazy stuff here and there. Uh, MJ wants to know can Naruto play wide receiver? He could play an entire team with that shadow clone jutsu. Now I'm not 100% sure how well he'd be doing as D tackle because he just doesn't necessarily have a ton of anchor. But if he hits the I'm gonna hopefully I say this right. If he goes into the sage mode and pulls out the big frogs, those guys could play O line, D line, while
Man,
he
clear,
does
clear
everything.
the way with him.
That's right. That's right. That's what I'm.
I mean, but he's fast enough. He could probably play quarterback and receiver at the same time.
No, I'm
Almost this is a deep cut now, almost like Mr. Perfect from way back in the day. If anybody remembers that video where he threw the ball to himself like 90 yards down the field, it was awesome. It was an amazing video. I don't, the magic of the Mr. Perfect from WWF back
there
in
you
the day.
go. He follows it up with JR. How you feel about my boy Mayfield moving to his natural position at right tackle? I will say this, and that got brought up today as well. If he can carve out a role as a swing tackle, then to me you're salvaging the draft pick.
Yep.
Because as of like going into this offseason, I was fully chalking him up to uh well, that was a bust of a pick. It's gonna happen. You're never really gonna see me get like super upset about it. Unless it's in the first round, then I might start crying a little bit. But you get into that third, fourth round range and
Stuff
you're take
happens, man.
yeah, exactly. And so, but if he can salvage it and become if he could solidify that swing tackle position and be that guy who if somebody goes down you can plug him in, like, dude, I think that would be a boon at this junction.
Eh, well, and I'll say this, man. Like, unlike some other positions, I will say this. I will give, I don't necessarily want him starting all the time, but I will give offensive linemen the benefit of the doubt and the much longer leash than I
Yeah.
will for some other positions, simply because there have been too many times where, whether it's our team, other teams, whatever, I've seen too many times where this team, whoever it is, has a horrible offensive line, absolutely horrible. And you're like, none of these guys should be able to play in the NFL. And then those guys either get broken up and they get piecemealed off into different teams. And then you come to find out later on, this guy that was part of this worst offensive line in NFL history is now on a part of the best NFL line in NFL history. And it's like, and this guy's like going to the Pro Bowl, and
Right.
it's like, what's going on here? Why was he trash here and great over here? And you just never know. It could be all coaching. It could be situations. Are the coaches over here doing putting this guy in the right position
Mm-hmm.
for the best position for him to succeed? There's all kinds of reasons why it doesn't work out here, but it works out over there. And if all that had to happen was he went from trying to force him in at left guard to putting him
Putting him
back
back.
over at right tackle on that right side of that line at the very least, and he can be your backup right tackle or potentially a backup right guard and be somewhat successful at it. That would, first of all, it would not surprise me in the least,
No.
and two, it would like you said, it would at least be like salvaging that pick
Yep.
to give us more depth, if nothing else.
Tony Wright says Jalen Mayfield will be competing for the backup right tackle position with last year's undrafted free agent Tyler Vrabel, who will win the backup spot. Uh, who will win? Are you saying Tyler will win? Possibly. I think both those guys have a real good chance of sticking. They didn't add a lot of like serious depth or competition on the O line, figuring that like what you have in place with Bergeron and the other starting four, your biggest heated battle going in is going to be Bergeron and Hennessy. Who ends up being um, let's see. Oh, I think we might have somebody joining us.
Oh,
I reached out, pulled an audible, and we're gonna add Big Low to the
big
screen. What's up, Low?
What in the world, bro? What's
What
going
in the
on
world,
with you,
bro?
what's going
man?
on, man?
I figured it.
Dang.
I figured if you was in floating around in chat, you might be bored enough to jump on with us. So
Man,
because
come on, JR. You know it's always a good time, brother.
that's
Always a
it.
good time.
That's it. We were just talking about the what we were talking about earlier in the chat with Mayfield. You know him taking reps at right tackle, which we saw Friday, which we've me and Jonathan figured that was a good sign to us that they're not just completely cutting bait and walking away from him. Wonder some of your thoughts on Mayfield and being at that right tackle position.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, and I believe Tony Wright, he told me on my show last week, he was saying that, think about Jalen Mayfield, that a lot of people don't know. He was like 19 or 20 whenever he was
Yeah,
taking his first snaps in the NFL 2 years ago against the Eagles when he got kicked in between the washing machine and the dryer.
yeah, he got. Whew, he got
that is a rough baptism right there, is what I would say.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah. That was tough.
and like the something I know that gets brought up quite a bit with him is like as far as playing right tackle is his shorter arms and having to overcompensate and getting out on you know like getting swiped away too easy. So like I said, he's one of those guys I'm watching as we go through camp um, to see how he ends up performing. Um, let's see. Mike asks, fellas, thoughts on Darren Hall making the roster, being that they are loaded at corner. Low, what do you think about Darren Hall? I mean, obviously he's still in a rookie contract. Is he just bound for special teams, or do you think he can uh, carve out an actual role?
Um, I mean, I feel like he could carve out a role. I think this is one of those situations where, that DB room is going to be so full.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we've heard so many stories about the Terrell Davises and the Shannon Sharps of the world carving out their role via special teams, showing that they legit wanted to play. But I mean, I just see the Mike Hugheses and the Akudas and the Clark Phillips and the AJ Terrells of the world. I mean, how often do they like? How many CBs do they normally put on the team? Like six, right? Or
Yeah,
seven? Yeah,
it's 6 or 7 depending on like what they look at as far as you know if it's I guess it would really in the special teams world it's going to depend on how they feel between the CBs and the wide receivers on that lower end, right?
yeah,
Which
yeah.
one do they think they have more of? I I think he's probably safe this year just because of the rookie contract and familiarity with, this is the regime that drafted him, all that jazz. So I feel like he might be safe this year, but kind of like with Frank Darby on the other end of it, right? Like you got to start showing something, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And one thing that I think a lot of people aren't realizing is that when it comes to like having those cornerbacks and having like a lot of defensive backs on the in during training camp, is that those guys are normally the most athletic guys on the field. So as we go into training camp and we're going through all of these drills and everything, yes, we want the speed and explosiveness to work out against their, all these other positions because we want to see how everybody's looking, you
Yep.
know.
Yeah. It I just like I hope for his sake that he's able to stick on to the team because that means that he showed something. Uh, because I think especially this year, I think if Rabel shows out and shows better than him, I don't think he's safe. You know. So
Yeah, you're talking about Mayfield. We were talking about Darren Hall.
oh my bad.
No, you're good. But like when I think about it, like this is with the amount of like nickel type corners they've brought in, and you drafted Clark Phillips, the third, that is they're all vying for that same spot. Like when Ryan Nielsen unprompted brings up D. Alford's name as somebody who, you know, stood out to him. These things are not stacking well, for Darren Hall, right?
Yep.
So it'd be interesting to see like how this shapes out. Tony Wright says, "Oh no, fresh back from the quick trip from business meetings in Los Angeles with Julio Jones and associate is Big Low." What's up, Low?
I don't know what Tony Wright's talking about, man.
I heard y'all closed a big real estate deal totaling $68 million. Now hold on, now, Low.
Wait, I mean, are you sandbagging us, Low?
Hey,
I mean,
man.
come on.
I wish that was the case, my brother. I wish that was the case.
Because if that's the case, we need to like relocate the get together in August to Big Low's property.
That's
I'm
right.
just saying.
Hey. If anything changes between now and then, I'll definitely let you know.
Did you do okay? Just keep us in the loop. That's all I'm.
There you go.
All I'm trying to say, Low. We were talking about like second year starters or second year players. Last year, this regime drafted a wide breadth of type of players. Who in your mind, Low, are you looking for to step up? We've pretty much we spent a good bit of time talking about Troy Anderson, but we haven't really made it to anybody else yet. So I'll open the floor to you. What second year player are you like, okay, the Falcons are going to have to count on this guy. I really hope he steps up big.
I think this year he may possibly have less snaps than he did in his rookie year, but I feel like he'll actually have a higher win percentage rate in a Mr. Arnold Ebikeite. I'm sorry, Dr. Arnold Ebikeite. We got more depth on the defensive line now. It's one of those situations where he's actually going to have more guys that he can learn from, as far as like the Bud Duprees and the Caden Ellises and the Anyamadas of the world, the Calais Campbells, even if they're not playing the same position, I mean, at the end of the day, and this, JR, from coaching, you get to the quarterback a handful of ways, right?
Yeah.
And they can show you how to do it no matter where you're coming from on the field.
I'm about saying you learn from whoever you can, right? You got guys who, especially in the Calais Campbell, who've done it from a bunch of different, areas, a bunch of different platforms. And you pick that guy's brain, somebody who's been able to stay in the league this long. You pick his brain for sure. He's a guy I'm really like excited for, to see what his production looks like. But I'm also go ahead.
I was gonna say him and Malone. I will be interested to see because you made that was one of the very first comments, really, like when the players started coming out. Like one of the very first things you said was like, Malone looks bigger.
Yeah,
like he looks he's definitely put on some muscle. Same thing with Ebikeite. Ebikeite's put on like 8 pounds or 8 or 9 pounds already. He says he's got like a couple more to go. So that would probably put him in like the 255-ish range, which is kind of the prototypical like edge guy, unless you're talking about 270, 280, like the bigger guys like the Cam Jordans of the world and so forth.
Right.
But yeah, if they could both get to about 255, and like take some of the win rate stuff that they did last year and pair that with potentially a better secondary that makes that quarterback hold it for an extra beat, then those sack numbers should go up. And I definitely see those guys as being hopefully taking that next step.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. King says, I'm late, but I'm here. What's up, P4P? What's going on, King?
What up, King?
I'm glad you're here, man. Prove it gives us the big all the fires. along with Bigelow. Always popular when Bigelow comes on. Appreciate that,
With
Willie
it,
Doc,
Doc.
the $5. We appreciate that. He says, which second year player can ill afford to have a sophomore slump? That's a good opposite side of that question. Closed caption all day long, Attack on Titan and Demon Slayer on point. Not much on Attack on Titan. I do know that quite an amount of people like it, and yeah, I'm not reading my TV. I will watch it. I will listen. I'm not reading it anyway. So, but no, that's an interesting question. What player can ill afford to have a second year slump? Jonathan, I'll tee you up first on that one.
Uh, a guy that can't really have a second year slump. I'm gonna say a guy that can't have a second year that cannot have a second year slump, and that is Drake London. I think
Yeah,
that's
we need
Drake
him.
London.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are. You're not wrong because we are heavily counting on Drake London to, like, you saw what he did the 4 games that Ritter was in,
Yeah.
and you're expecting that kind of production to continue. So that's not a bad one at all. If he has a bad slump with this wide receiver room, we might be in a little bit of trouble.
Yep.
So yeah, good call there. Low, what do you got?
I'm gonna go like a little bit to the more unpopular opinion, and UGA fans, please don't get upset with me. But Justin Schaefer, I feel like for his sake, I
Right.
feel like because if I'm not mistaken, didn't they like let him go and bring him back and
Well, he was on the practice
The
practice
squad.
squad?
squad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was on the practice squad. He was on the practice squad like injured list. Then he got activated to the practice squad, but never did fully like come up to the full roster. I don't think.
yeah,
But yeah, no, you're not wrong. He can't afford to have a.
yeah.
He can't afford to be forgettable.
Exactly. I feel like this season, especially with all of the talent that they brought in at offensive line, you got the Bergerons here now. You still have Hennessy. It's one of those things where I feel like they have to, he's going to have to make sure that he shows up and shows out come August and July.
Yeah, you're definitely not. Yeah, you're definitely not wrong there. Um, I think like second year guy who can't afford to have a slump would be. Um, I know we talked about him, we hope he takes a step forward, but kind of like to piggyback off your Drake in a sense. But Troy Anderson, like
Mm,
you moved up to get him, like
Yeah.
in the second round. It was no, did you move? No, you moved up to get Arnold. Anyway, maybe it was the third round. Now things are starting to blur together. Somebody's going to correct me in chat.
but
I
but
just know
but
it.
but either way,
Uh,
I definitely agree with that.
right, and so like you need him. You're expecting a lot out of him. Bug was saying that Ritter can't afford to have a second year slump.
that's
I don't
true.
know if we consider it a second year because he didn't get a full year starting, but
Yeah,
like I expect Ritter to have some lumps, but he can't nosedive. That much is for sure. You can't be putting Henneke in,
yeah,
like, because then he'd have to be playing so much worse than Mariota because it took so long for them to switch to
Mhm.
bench Mariota for Ritter, right?
yes, yeah,
So you can't be giving leeway to Henneke. That much is for sure.
yeah. It took
Way
where it
too
had
long.
become glaringly obvious that
I
you
mean, when
know
you're throwing picks from your back, that should have been when you had to go a
Yeah.
full 10 play touchdown drive without passing the ball.
Man, I thought it was 1925 out there.
Hello, when
Like that old
everybody,
Georgia Tech offense.
yeah, when everybody in the building knew you was gonna run it, and you still ran it, and you still got a touchdown. Like that game told me all I needed to know. I was like, if
Yeah.
we can win without Ritter, I mean without Mariota, you just need to go ahead and put Ritter in.
Yep.
Now Cash is saying Malone, like D'Angelo Malone can't afford. He already had a hard enough time carving out a role. So yes, you're right. He needs to start, making he needs to start making his presence felt. Because another guy, fourth round pick, those guys are easy to walk away from.
Yeah.
Like he'll be here for the remainder of his rookie contract, but those guys are fourth round and lower. It starts to become easy to go. Okay, well that's not the guy, and we'll keep looking and keep pushing. Let's
Uh,
see.
I
Oh,
was
go
getting
ahead.
ready to go there with Tony.
Okay, good.
Uh,
Okay, good. It says JR and April stated, I believe inside linebacker Troy Anderson will play so well, in my opinion, that he will make his first Pro Bowl because the light bulb is on with this kid is going to let loose. They're counting on that, and you know that because we're a couple weeks into OTAs now, and you still haven't brought back like Rashawn Evans, even though he had been talked about a handful of times early in the offseason. He's still out there. You haven't, every linebacker that you have brought in is a special teams level linebacker,
yep.
Yeah.
Backup guy essentially.
right? Like,
Yeah.
so you haven't brought anybody in to really challenge. So they're fully expecting Troy Anderson to take that step. And there's no indication that he isn't going to. But yeah, it'd be bad if he
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's got to be a combination of like what he has sort of like what we talked about with Ritter. Like Ritter, with Fontenot says like every time he turns around and he looks just to see what he's doing, he sees Ritter working, doing something to better his craft. And so there, when it comes to Troy Anderson, there has to be some of that as well, where like every time they turn around, they see him working on something, and also like the feeling just from talking to him and watching tape and all this other stuff that Ryan Nielsen has, that Jerry Gray has, that all the linebackers coaches have. That there's got to be something there that we're not privy to that makes them believe again, short of like short of injuries and things like that, that this guy makes it to the season healthy, that they feel like he's going to be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's got to be it's got to be some combination of those factors that makes it so that they're not even bringing in somebody to push it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it,
And that's a good point because I feel like the linebacker room is either going to be up here or down there. I don't feel like it's going to be a real gray area, especially with this defense. Because one thing that Ryan Nielsen has done in New Orleans the last couple of years is it's like he's kind of protected those linebackers.
mhm.
And I mean, if you look at the Demario Davises and the Quan Alexanders, it's like I think we could definitively say those guys aren't as athletic as a Troy Anderson and a Kate Nellis. So
Right.
I feel like either it's really going to pop or it's really going to flop. It's
It's
going
like
to
it's
be
like we gonna hit or we gonna miss at a million miles an hour. What
exactly. That's it. That's it.
now? Tony brings up a good point as he tends to. He says, "Panel, what are your thoughts on this?" He says, "I believe DC Ryan Nielsen will let these kids loose because Pease wouldn't last season." Now, the way I'm going to kind of spin this to then ask y'all to kind of reiterate is when you get somebody like a Dean Pease who has a decade or decades worth of coaching experience, something I
Mhm.
brought up before, like they come in with a playbook that's like that thick, and before you can really get going, like really get going, because they said it before in his first year, oh, he's only using this much of his playbook.
Yep.
When you know he's the type of guy that wants to be able to dig in that bag and start throwing things out that somebody hasn't necessarily seen to then be successful, right? Uh, but this is where I feel like in a lot of ways DQ was going in the right direction. He kept his playbook about that thing. So everybody knew exactly what they were doing and they could go a million miles an hour.
Yep.
Do you think like Nielsen is going to go more like towards that route versus that route. Both can be successful. So just all necessarily depends on which route do you think that they should go. Low, you think it's going to be more like this?
I think so. I think so. It's like I had a chance to speak with one of the players last year, and he told me that Dean P's playbook is like so complex that he was like you even think about stuff like if they run a bunch on the right side and like they're bigger guys, then there's something specific they're supposed to do, you
Right.
know. Or if they run a bunch and there's two big guys and one in the middle that's off the line of scrimmage, there's something specific that they're supposed to do. And you get to thinking too much, you can't play at 100%. So
Right.
I feel like from hearing Ryan Nielsen talk and from watching his past defenses, like going back to New Orleans, and I mean even going back to NC State, it's like it's kind of a hey, let's just go get it kind of a situation. If we make a mistake, we're gonna make it at 100 miles an hour kind of deal. So I'm more than good with that.
It could go either way. I think it's really dependent. At least, okay, if I'm a DC, okay, and I have never coached a day in my life, will probably never coach a day in my life, so I am completely talking out of my rear end. But,
go ahead. Let me hear what you got.
But if I was a DC, okay, I would have a playbook that's maybe not War and Peace size, but I'd probably have like a Stephen King's The Stand. It's like a good meaty novel.
So The Stand, right? I mean, look, I've watched. Okay. I ain't gonna sit here and try to say that I've been the most like decorated coach, because obviously I'm not. I spent 1 year like helping with 8th graders. So let's put that in perspective. Okay, but this past season I found myself watching a ton of like coaching clinics on on YouTube, just trying to understand schemes better and be able to understand what I'm seeing better than what I currently do.
That's good, JR. That's
Yeah,
real
and
good.
that's something that like anybody can do, right? Like it don't cost nothing. As Willie says, y'all so educated. We try to be, Willie. We try to be. We do this for y'all. But anyway, like one of the things I've heard to say, like some coaches feel like you got to have an answer for everything. And if somebody comes up, if one of your players comes up or a situation arises, you got to have an answer for it. But I've also heard those same coaches say you can't have too big of a menu.
No.
Yep.
Because you can't practice everything.
No.
And so what I'm going to be, interested, you did get this kind of feeling. And this is, Tony says, P's just like Buddy Ryan doesn't trust rookie or young players. And it showed with linebackers and secondary with Grant and Hawkins. He just didn't blitz a lot as we thought he would. That was one of Dean Pease's big calling cards was, that double A gap blitz.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And these past 2 years, you just didn't see a ton of it. Yeah. And it probably had a lot to do with he felt like his secondary couldn't hold up. And like a loving grandpa, if he wasn't going to put them out there like that, if he didn't think that they could do it, he wasn't going to ask them to do it.
Well, and that's and that was like to the point that I was making is I don't think you need the big giant playbook. I think you need a good sized playbook, and then you tailor that. It all comes down to what do you feel comfortable with your players running? Right. Do you feel like you can dig deeper into that book and they're going to be fine? If you feel comfortable with that, then go however deep into your playbook you feel comfortable with. But tailor it to the guys and what they are good at and what they understand about that scheme. And so, maybe early in the season, the playbook looks like this.
Right.
And then you get 2/3 of the way through the season, and now that playbook looks like that because they've been in that room, they've been on the iPad, after hours, and they're studying the playbook, and they're getting better, and they're talking to the vets, the guys that the Caden Ellis's, the Anyamadas, those guys that know this defense, and they get pointers on it. And so as they get through that season, the understanding gets better, so you can go better. So like you start off there and you end up there.
Yep.
And that's like, if I'm a DC, I'm only going to be my defense is only going to be as complicated as my players can handle. And don't just try to be like, well, we went over all this stuff, you guys should know it, so I'm going to call it. And then next thing you know, you're hanging guys out to dry because they didn't understand what you were trying to call. So so don't do that. That's what if I was a coach, then that's what I would try to do as best as I possibly could.
And I've been telling y'all 2 places that I can't stand eating at.
Okay.
The Cheesecake Factory.
Oh.
And Marietta Diner. The food is good. The food is good.
Well, why?
Man, I sit down and I'm looking at the menu and I'm like, oh, they got pasta. Oh, they got breakfast food. Oh, they got ribs. Oh, they got so now I'm sitting here like the menu's too big. Just like JR said. So you take me to Texas Roadhouse. And if we're feeling like steak, we'll go to Texas Roadhouse and get the steak. If we feeling like seafood, and we'll go to a seafood spot and get the seafood. So on and so. Pasta Bella. We want some Italian food. But at the end of the day, it's like it's one of those situations where you just want to, sometimes you just got to condense things. Everything don't belong in everything.
Yeah, but if you want steak, you go to the Marietta Diner. They got steak. You want pasta.
But do they specialize in the steak though?
No,
right.
They specialize in it all because it's all good.
No, but see, like to Lowe's point, is like I say ain't never, maybe one time, and all it took was one time. But I don't sit down at Waffle House and order a T-bone. It's on the menu, or at least it used to be. It's on the menu, but you don't get it. That's like you look at folks who go to, like when I say folks, I'm talking about like full-grown adults. Like if I ever go sit down at a like Ruth Chris or whatever, and one of my compatriots order the chicken fingers.
Oh man, come on.
Like I'm not inviting them to a restaurant again. We can hang out. We can be friends and still. But I'm not, like, you see what I'm saying? Like when you do something well.
Me and you go to Ruth's Chris, I'm gonna order a salad.
Look, bro.
Well, see, we can't go. We can't go back.
I ain't trying to throw you on blast, John, but you my only friend that uses steak sauce on a steak. Okay.
No, I do not. Not only if the steak's bad.
You put steak sauce on steak?
Huh?
You put steak sauce on steak?
I make steaks here all the time, and we don't even have steak sauce in the house.
Okay,
now,
all right.
I like steak sauce, and there are times where I will put it on the side, and I may dip my steak into steak sauce. I don't put it over my steak anymore. I may do that. I like steak sauce.
Okay.
Jesus.
No.
You about to have me like hanging from a tree out here. People are gonna be like, "What are you doing?"
Hey, look now. It's a, it's got to keep you in check. I don't know. Cortez, Sherman over here, says, "Man, that steak sauce be busting." I don't know, dog. I can't get with it.
I can't find it. Can't find it anymore. Give me some A1 bold and spicy. Man, I will. Man,
you got some supporters out there, John.
Yeah.
But back to like Tony's point is, like, you can go the. Hold on, Jay. I like barbecue sauce on my steak.
And that's like a wrong. I know. I talked about being the steak sauce guy, right? So I don't have a whole lot of room here. That's like literally a step up from putting ketchup on your steak. That's this much of a step up.
I can't say nothing because sometimes I put ranch dressing on mine. Sometimes.
Oh, low.
On your steak?
I thought I knew you, bro. I thought I knew you. Oh God. I thought I knew you, low. Okay. All right. Look.
All
All
right,
right.
I'm
Fine.
sorry. I'm sorry.
We got.
I'm sorry. What? I can't hear.
Oh no. You know. Okay. But now, but to back to the point, like keeping the playbook at a reasonable level, for the players that you have is what good coaches do, and even to his point, like Pease did that as well.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't throwing everything at him because he knew he couldn't handle it, or they knew they couldn't do what he was asking them to do. So yes, he coached to the level of the players that he had, and Arthur Smith has made a point up that Dean Pease probably has buyer's remorse on retiring after seeing what they've been able to add, you know, this year to the defense. I am almost positive that in his scheme, Dean Pease would have loved Jesse Bates.
Oh yeah.
Just, and would have loved having AJ Terrell and Jeff Okuda.
Oh
Yeah.
yes. Oh, yeah.
Being able to actually have two guys that can play man and
Yep.
hold up, allowing you to do some, crazy stuff in the middle of the field, would have been, extraordinary for him. But instead, you get, like Jerry Gray gets to now try to mold it in a sense to what he thinks it should look like. Because I think he's going to have a bigger hand than some are giving him, credit for
Yeah.
when it comes to this defensive back room with guys like, Jesse Bates and Jeff Okuda. I think the combination of Terrell and Okuda are going to be a lot of fun this year. Y'all done started some stuff in this chat. I don't know if y'all seen this.
I'm watching. I'm watching. I got me and Cortez. We on the same wavelength here.
Y'all the same way. I got Slim over here talking about spicy mustard, butter, and A1.
What?
What a concoction are you making, Slim?
I mean, I like all those things, so maybe all together at once.
Oh, y'all are making me y'all are making my head hurt. Tony says, gents, are your thoughts of Arthur Smith's Friday's OTA presser, where he stated that with the depth, youth, and experience now the team expects the Falcons to be playing 20 to 21 games. That should be the expectation every year.
Yeah.
Like even the first 2 years they were here, like they knew, like in the very deep recesses of their mind, that they weren't going to do much of nothing. But the expectation was to win,
Yeah.
and to win as much as possible. So I would be concerned if my coaching staff didn't expect to be playing in January.
Yeah.
So,
and
20, 21 games.
People can say what they want about Coach Smith. I know we're not going to hear it a lot here in this setting, right? Because I don't think any of us feel this way. I don't think any of the people in chat, I don't think anybody in chat is going to feel this way. But I've heard many people talk about, oh, he's the son of the FedEx owner. Yeah, he's just the guy's arrogant and this and that and the other. I'll say this. Yes, he's the FedEx guy's owner. Yes, does he have to do this to make a living? No. Okay. He went through all the bottom of the rung jobs to get here. Okay. Yep. He's now here. This guy does this because this is what he enjoys doing. He is he comes off to me as a perfectionist, a guy who wants things done right. He wants things done the right way and his way. And, that's what you want as a coach. Like, we're going to do things the way that I want to do them, and we're going to get them done the way I want to get them done. And, yeah, he is expecting to he is preparing for playing in 20 to 21 games, not including preseason. And but that should be the expectation every year. And again, it's not going to happen every year. I don't care how good you are. But the expectation is always going to be there to be in that many games.
Yep.
So,
no, I completely agree as far as that goes. Lo, have you ever been a part of like a coaching staff that was like, "Yep, we suck this year. Just go ahead and pack it in"?
Nah, it's like I've been part of coaching staff like we all knew that, but we never We
didn't
never
say it
said
out loud.
it. No, we didn't say it out loud.
Right. You don't say it out loud.
But
It's
we
like,
all knew.
The after practice like nightcap, maybe it's like, whoo, but I mean, like, you don't ever, you're never going to say that in front of your players. You're never going to say that to the media. Every outward thing is going to be like, we are paid, especially as a pro, you are paid to come in and compete and win games as much as you possibly can. And nobody who's in the NFL likes losing. Nobody who's in the NFL wants to lose. You could talk about tanking and this and that and the other. No, like Lovie Smith probably got fired in a lot of ways because he didn't tank.
because he didn't tank. That's right.
Right. Nobody wants. Now the owner may think like, we're going to try to do everything we can to handicap this guy. We're gonna make sure that get rid of this and get rid of that, and blah 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 blah, and try to put him in the work. But that coach is still going to go out there, whether it's Lovie Smith, Arthur Smith, doesn't matter who it is. They're going to try to go out there and they're going to do everything they can to try to win every single game they're in, whether they're going against the worst team in the league, whether they're going against the Chiefs, the Bills. It don't matter, and they expect their guys to go out there and perform. And sometimes it just doesn't work out, but that's the expectation every single time it goes out there.
So, we talked about it kind of extensively at the top of the show, but Lo, we obviously didn't get your opinion. Ryan wants to know, what were your guys' impressions on Bijan when you saw him live? So, Lo, I'm gonna leave this one for you because, like I said, me and Jonathan talked about that pretty extensively at the top of the show. So, what was your opinion on Friday when you saw the Bijan man?
Well, first of all, so on Saturday, it's crazy. I went to a barbecue and I tried his mustard, his spicy mustard, John.
Okay.
So
yeah,
didn't like it. Pineapple.
No?
I ain't like
you
it.
don't like spicy mustard?
I love spicy mustard, but it was like spicy. It was kind of sweet. I ain't like.
I'm not a sweet and savory kind of person.
Yeah. So I ain't like it. But my initial thoughts on Bijan was first of all, I looked at him. He had the thighs out. Whenever I was like, goodness gracious, he just came to show off. Okay.
he wear them the biker shorts.
That's
yeah,
right.
man. He wearing the hoochie daddy shorts.
Yeah, it's hoochie daddy. That's it.
Yeah, he wearing the hoochie daddy shorts. But I'm gonna tell you, like, just the way that he moved around the field, like, I was talking about it in the spaces earlier. JR, like he caught an in and out route. I mean, he just hit the sideline, and they had an angle on him. I mean, but his acceleration was legit. Like he could move around the field, and his vision, like whenever they were going through the run fits. I don't know if y'all seen that one run whenever they motioned everybody. They motioned the tight end and the wide receiver to the odd side. Then they ran a counter, and then he cut it back after he did the counter, and he just had green grass in front of him. I was like, this is, I mean, and I love me some Tyler Algier, but Tyler Algier ain't moving like that.
No, he like they just like move different, right? It's like I think they are going to complement each other so well.
Yes.
And I can see so many scenarios where you have that split backfield where you have both of them back there. And giving defenses headaches because Bijan can give you all of it, the grace, the smoothness, the power, like he can give you it all. And Tyler is a battering ram. Yeah. Like he's
the Mack truck.
Yes, like very much so. And like to a point where, you almost want to call him like Optimus Prime, where Bijan's the tractor and Tyler's the freaking trailer, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So
yes.
Yeah. Somebody he followed it up, says, do you already feel that Bijan is the face of the franchise? I keep saying that in a lot of like whether it's like somewhat poking fun or not, but if Ritter comes in and cements himself, then like him and Drake can be that Ryan Julio. But if Ritter doesn't and you're on to another quarterback, yes, you can in or if Ritter is just average at best, and Bijan's ripping off huge runs, and he's the exciting one. There for a while, for a good chunk, like when you thought about the Falcons, or if they showed you anything to do with the Falcons, it was Julio Jones.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
wasn't Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
And it could easily be Bijan Robinson
Yep.
as the, face in that aspect, as the, as Cortez says here, the most marketable at the moment.
Yeah, and part of that is I know somebody in chat when I made this comment kind of gave me some crap about it. Uh, Part of it is Bijan when he just the way he talks.
Yeah.
Okay, everything about him is smooth.
Yep.
Whether the way he runs, the way he practices, the way he runs routes, and also the way he talks when he talks to the media. Like there are guys that are well spoken. There are guys that are well spoken all throughout the league, but they don't sound like he sounds.
Yeah.
He
Right?
reminds me a lot of like when you heard back in the day when you heard Larry Fitzgerald talk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
because if you like even up to like the last few years, Matt Ryan when he talks, he does, even as the face of the franchise, as the franchise quarterback, as this, he's a very well spoken man, but like there's just something about his cadence and how he talks that was a little stilted. There was
very
just something
very
about
buttoned up, very almost like corporate.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
As to where
uh,
Bijan just sounds like natural, excited, exciting, like to
yes.
be talking to. Like
Yeah.
he just has that, just exudes, that vibrance
Kind of like
about
Yeah,
JR.
him.
Kind of like
yeah.
JR. Kind
Yeah.
Well, I got this
Well,
light back here. I gotta.
but I mean, it doesn't have, but it doesn't have to be that way. Like if you look at a guy like Marshawn Lynch is like the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Like when they talk, Marshawn Lynch is like his thing is like very down to earth. This man's
Mhm.
cussing up a storm on places he probably shouldn't be because that's just how he is. That he just talks that way, and he's got very much that the way he talks is very much different than a Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson just sounds like the way he sounds. So you add that to hopefully what we see as a bunch of explosive plays. You add that to a bunch of explosive runs and catches. All that stuff that could potentially happen. And if that happens, along with how easily he talks to everybody and how personable he is and all that stuff, he absolutely could be the face of the franchise. At the very least, he is the marketing face of the franchise.
Do y'all
Absolutely.
remember? Y'all remember like before the draft where the reporter was walking in the green room, and it's
Mhm.
like Bijan Robinson just started walking and talking with her. I don't know if y'all
Yep.
remember that, and I was like, "Oh my god, I think the Falcons are going to take this guy." Whenever I seen that, that was a moment where I was like, "I think the Falcons are going to take this
He's
guy."
he's got a very much like a total package, type persona about him. Um,
Yep.
the deal is like, okay, just you know, can he stay healthy? That's going to be, I think right now that's going to be the only thing that may end up derailing him. Everything else is stacked in his favor.
Yep.
Yeah,
The
Like
more the go ahead.
like Cortez, like Bijan, he's got the communication skills. He's like, and every time you see an interview with him, like he says here, you don't see him stall out.
no,
Even if he doesn't know the answer or he doesn't know the right answer or whatever, it just everything seems to just flow. It
Mhm.
just like his running, it just flows out of him, and it just seems supernatural.
Yep, and that's I think that, like I said, outside of injuries, I think he has the best potential to be a franchise player. Um, Now we can talk about and make arguments all day long about, oh well, no team in a very long time has won with a running back that being the main focus and all. Look, everything's cyclical. Okay, For a long time in the NFL, if you didn't have a running back, you couldn't do nothing.
Yep.
Okay, then so everything's cyclical. We could just be seeing the start of the revolution in a sense.
Mm,
Yeah.
Um,
could be.
Well, I mean, because
so
like after his first year, who was the face of the franchise for the Cowboys?
yeah, Zeke,
It was Zeke.
yeah, it was Ezekiel Elliott.
Like it was Ezekiel Elliott, and
Yep,
then the injuries have kind of derailed him a little bit, but also like he ran into some like legal troubles and things like that,
Yeah, that's
and
true. Yeah.
you know he doesn't come across that way, so I don't think that's necessarily something we have to worry about with Bijan, but you never know. I mean, for all we know, he gets to the NFL, it gets a little bit of fame, and his freak flag starts showing out, and you never know.
I don't know.
Uh,
The more I read about him and like where he like his upbringing, where he came from, his his past, and he's seen does not seem like that's the kind of person he is. Bijan Robinson's a well-spoken young man. Tony says reminds me personality-wise like a Larry Fitzgerald, like a Walter Payton. Honestly, that's who he reminds me of.
yeah,
That's it's going to be like and those are big things to live up to, but I think he has the potential all the way around.
yes,
Pantera says Bijan, Drake, Dez, all these guys, they're all the same guy, mature husband, fathers, intact families, and that's the thing. They come from stability,
Yeah.
and that's big. Anybody in life
Yeah.
is
Kyle Pitts
stability.
too.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts, same deal. Like I know, like right now we're looking at the shiny toy that is Bijan, and because of a truncated year, we kind of like forget about Kyle Pitts. But man, if he if he comes back fully healthy with what is already now being added to it, not having to be asked to be everything, just
yep,
allowed to be a mismatched nightmare that he is, dude.
yep.
I mean, it's like think about it like this, Jr. Like in his rookie year, it's like there were so many times where he almost caught passes and took them to the house, but they always kept somebody over the top. So
Mhm.
whenever Matt Ryan would drop him in, like on those 7 routes and those corner routes and things like that, and he still almost broke the play wide open. But
Right.
now that you got guys everywhere else, you
You got
know,
other things to worry about. You got the full scheme in effect with the running game, the other tight end in Janu Smith, the other athletic big body receiver in Drake London. Like you have the full scheme. Like I know Nick comes in like pretty much weekly. I don't know if he's still in here or not. Uh, but I'm gonna try to scroll back up to the very top and see if I can't uh like almost every video every week Nick hits me with one of these. No excuses for 23. And
true.
he's not wrong, right? Like in a sense, like you still have to like give credence to the fact that this is Ritter's first year starting. You can't expect him to be Mahomes right off the rip as far as, hit the ground running like that. But because you had those 4 games last year and he got marginally better every game last year, and you're already seeing him aligning Bijan correctly. That's something I stress so much.
Yes.
It's like, oh, why is that a big deal? That means he has the confidence to say, no, you're wrong.
Yes.
You need to get in the right spot. And
Yes.
that on a professional field is huge.
Yes.
The fact that he has the confidence to have the voice to say you're wrong and get it right
Mhm.
shows me that he's miles ahead, obviously, of where he was last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think he has, at least in the 23 season, has the full trust of the staff. And I think he's going to prove him right, honestly. I think he's going to be, I'm not going to sit here and say he's going to be, Mahomes, because that right now that's the gold standard. I don't think you find those very often. But I honestly believe he could be, a Kirk Cousins. He could be a prime Russell Wilson. He could be, Derek Carr in the sense of able to win you games.
Exactly.
So I'm excited. That much is for sure.
Oh
Yeah, I'm super excited.
All right, I think we have ran our mouths quite a bit for
Sip
what you
thought
got.
Ritter is a mobile Peyton Manning. Yeah, I said it.
Wow, that's Sip. That's
That
a lot there.
that's how that. So the expectations, we're trying to keep them here. You're putting them way up here.
You're off the screen, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
Talking about
So
a mobile Peyton Manning. My God.
yeah.
Uh,
Now, if he turns out to be that,
hey,
I will come and
well, one of
Sip,
these
you are the
will get
man.
replaced with a number 4. That's for sure.
Not number 9, you mean?
9, number 9. That's what I said. I said number 9. Come on, you can over here
All right. So
correcting the correction.
I hear you wrapping it up.
I'm trying to, dog. We're at
Okay.
an hour and
I know.
26 minutes.
I know.
What you got?
I know. I got one more question that I want to go, and we'll go around the room here, and maybe we'll
right.
pick up some people in the chat as well.
All right.
But I want to know first from Low. I want to know what is or where, whether it was homemade, like at home or out and about or whatever, or at a restaurant or whatever. Where have you had the best steak in your life?
Ooh.
The best steak in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I would say at home. I would
Okay.
say at home. I would say I did a reverse sear tomahawk steak.
See, yep. I was sitting there thinking, like, okay, I've been to Brazilian steakhouses. I've been to, high end joints on like cruise ships and, other high. I've never been to like a Ruth Chris or nothing like that. But you took the words out of my mouth. I bought myself a tomahawk steak
Oh, really? Yeah.
one day,
Mm-hmm.
and like like you said, reverse seared. It was it was pushing close to 2 pounds. It was
Woo.
massive. I mean, the steak alone was like $50 or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
When I
How
saw
long
it,
do you have to? How long do you have to leave it in the oven? Reverse
no,
searing that thing?
it was on the because like I indirect cooked it on my grill,
Mm-hmm.
and it cooked for 30, 45 minutes, and then I put the sear on it, and that was medium rare. Okay,
Yeah.
with a piece of meat that big, but my God, man, that was probably it. Either had to be that one or my wife one time bought me for real deal filet mignons,
Oh
and
man,
those things were like butter.
I could
So
imagine.
at the house, I will say,
So I have had some really good steaks that I've cooked here.
Uh-huh.
I reverse sear. I use, some people would be like, just salt and pepper or whatever. I use like Montreal steak seasoning. I
there
love
you
it.
go.
Okay.
Okay, ain't no wrong with that.
But I do that, and I love the ribeye. The ribeye is my favorite cut.
Ribeye, like
Yeah. I love
ribeye is my
ribeye.
go-to cut as far as
Yeah.
like
Yes,
we just go grab some steaks. It's a ribeye,
yes.
Yeah.
straight up.
But the best steak I have personally ever had, I went to, it was 2 maybe 3 years ago now. Took my wife out to Rays on the River.
Ah,
And we ended up spending something like yes, she does.
what
Uh,
is like a queen?
but we ended up spending, I think the total it was like $200 for the
Oh
whole
yeah,
meal.
yeah, right.
It was super crazy. But the ribeye that I got, I can't remember the name of it, but it was like their premier one. It was like $45.
Gee, what happened, Jonathan? Your
You
headphones.
muted yourself.
Either you muted yourself or your headphones went out. His headphones died. That's what happened.
Oh yeah.
All
That's
right,
what
while he
happened.
fixes that, Pantera says, Firestone Grill, Uncle Douglas backyard, deer steak on a park grill at Lanier, Lake Lanier. Deer steak. That's what's up.
Wow.
That a good deer steak is
Yes.
when done right.
Yeah. It's hard to do them right because they so
Yeah,
big.
I was about to say like you got to do them right. Let's see. Anybody else add? Brian says, Hal's. I've never been to Hal's.
Never been to
I
Hal's.
don't go to a ton of like steakhouses because of how well I can do them at the house.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but
Yeah, we
I
can
guess
hear
you
you.
would your Bluetooth headphones die or something?
I don't know. It just browser lost connection.
Oh, well, that's cute.
Mm.
But anyway,
yeah,
yes.
But yeah,
So,
the rays on the river, ribeye steak,
good stuff.
cut into it, so juicy, melted in your mouth. Just the best steak I have personally ever had. And yeah, it better be for as much as I paid for.
Yeah.
How did you order it?
Medium rare.
Medium
Okay.
rare.
Yeah, I'm about to say this. All right. We have a special request from Ryan there. He says, he wants to know if we can get a what in the world bow. If you were excited about the Falcons.
Ryan, I'm definitely excited about them Falcons, man. What in the world, Bo?
Well, Lo, man, I appreciate you greatly for jumping on with us. You made it fun. Tell the folks where they can find you for the ones that for some odd reason don't know who you are.
Definitely, man. My name is Big Low Country. I'm just an old country boy, former football coach that love to sit around and talk about sports. You can find us on YouTube. You just search this right here and it'll pull us up. But we're gonna have a good time this season, man.
There you go. All right. Well, as always, y'all can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Grimm1128, GRIMM1128, as it's scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Jonathan?
At Jonathan M. Holder. Come by, say hi.
Keep your eye on the channel. They'll be doing we should have something like OTA wise, I think this weekend. If not, we'll have a short video out this weekend, and then we'll be back live next Tuesday. But as always, Falcons fans, rise up.
Rise up.
Rise up.